Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, we're rolling. It's the biggest bar night of the year, and what are we doing? Gridiron Grinder! That's right, tonight's episode 21. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. We're going to be providing our weekly NFL team power rankings and game picks. How's it going tonight, James?
Going good.
Sweet. Let's talk about some of these games from last week, man. I know we were hitting each other back and forth on the messenger about Cincinnati and Burrow. That was brutal, man. What'd you think?
I think, honestly, hearing the injury report, I thought it was a lot worse than it actually ended up being. Watching the hit on the knee,
Yeah.
I mean, I had like flashbacks of Alex Smith's injury, and thought like, man, they wrecked this guy.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
ironically, that's what we were talking about last week, was how that offensive line needs to protect them.
Yeah, it's crazy the timing of that conversation. And yeah, I tell you, man, when I saw it, I watched it in slow motion, which, sometimes, that's not a good idea because when it's brutal like that, it's just like, oh no. It was bad, man. And yeah, I mean, hey, I'm just hoping that it's a clean, solid recovery process, and that it's not an Alex Smith situation or worse. I mean, when I saw it, I thought, shit, this could be a career-ending thing. It looked that bad, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's some structural damage, and he tore two ligaments.
Yeah, and,
It's
and
like,
so yeah, I mean, yeah, I think right now they're feeling positive about where it can go, and we just got to keep our fingers crossed for this guy because, yeah, I mean, hey, he was showing a heck of a lot of potential. And you never know, man. Sometimes these injuries, guys can get a little bit shell-shocked, and it's hard to come back. And so, I mean, we talked about it before. I mean, Cincinnati, they better, throw everything in the kitchen sink at the offensive line this year to make him feel super comfortable coming back because that's not an easy injury, man.
no, it's not. It's not. And I think maybe he, uh, from what I saw, I thought he was definitely out for 2 years, like this year,
Yeah.
and like the rest of this year, next year, and into the following year. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm laughing. I'm laughing out of I just can't believe it. It's not like I'm laughing at the guy, but yeah, because it's this late in the season, it's like holy shit, this guy could be out for a long time, man.
yeah, exactly. And if you remember, was it when Philly won the Super Bowl? Carson Wentz had the knee injury um, late November, mid late November against the Rams, and then he wasn't the same. No, he's still not the same. Like he's regressed
Yeah.
this year from last year, but it took him a full year and a half, a full season, the rest of that season, and full following season for him to even get close to right.
Yep. Yep. It's tough, and different guys they bounce back differently. But yeah, I mean, hey, we just got to hope the best for this guy, and let's hope he gets back on track and keeps kicking ass because he gave us some good football for a rookie quarterback, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip it over. We got to talk about the fucking Lions. You called it, which shocks me that we talked about it, how you flipped your pick to Carolina, and I'm like, wait, with a backup quarterback, you're making the flip? Like, what the heck is going on here? It's just tough because, had there not been the bye week, we're going back a number of weeks. They had the bye week, and then they came out and they beat Jacksonville. It just seems to me like if they didn't have that bye week, they were on such a rough run. They might have lost that Jacksonville game. They might have lost that Atlanta game. And, Patricia's gone and we got a totally different conversation. But it just is like the schedule, they got the bye week at a good time. And then the schedule got soft at the right time. And now this motherfucker's winning, like just barely enough to stick with the team. And here we go, man. We're playing Carolina with a backup quarterback. And they fucking spank us. They shut us out, man. I mean, it's just embarrassing, dude.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And this defense, I don't know how Patricia can call himself a defensive guru anymore.
Oh,
I
not at
mean,
all,
I
man.
mean, they're in zone coverage when they should be in man. They're in man coverage when they should be in zone. They can't even figure out the basics. I mean, shit, a pee wee football team probably could put up points against this defense. How bad they're playing.
Yeah, and then I've already read a number of different articles about people just like bashing Quinn in the Okuda pick, and it's like, man, that guy's not done anything, and you drafted him that freaking high, tied for the highest pick for his position ever, and you're supposedly got this defensive guru running the team, and you can't get this guy to figure it out. It's like, geez, man, like we're just swinging and missing left and right. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, during the draft, you and I were talking, and I was begging them to pick Tua with that pick.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Begging them to pick Tua with that pick. Move on from Stafford. Let him go somewhere else. I mean, and just start the rebuild. But because Quinn and Patricia were fighting for the job, they're gonna try to build up the defense. And
Yeah.
that I don't know what bringing in Everson Griffith's done to this defense. It hasn't been better.
That honestly, I mean, I agree with you, but that one I wasn't that upset about because we didn't have to give up a ton to get the guy. It was like basically Dallas was doing a fire sale and we just took it. And, for that, I'm kind of like, okay, that to me was worth the risk. If we had to give up like a second round pick for the guy, I'd have been like, whoa, wait a minute, motherfuckers, that's not okay. But, it was a later round pick, and so it's kind of like, yeah, this guy has shown what he can do in the past. I kind of thought, he's got off-field issues, and so you're taking some risk, but you're not giving up a huge pick to get it. And so I thought it was at least worth a shot.
Yeah, like I was excited about it. My frustration is nothing has come. This defense isn't getting better. You're adding pieces. The rush defense fucking blows.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. PJ Walker, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but he had a solid game last week against the Lions defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy.
He looked good, man.
That's the other reason why I wanted to do Wednesday night, because if after the Lions lose tomorrow and they don't fire Patricia on Friday, I don't know if I could talk about football on Friday.
Oh, we wouldn't get through the show. All we would be doing is motherfucking the Lions, like up and down, left and right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I thought it was a good choice to do Wednesday. All right, so let's talk about Miami for a minute. That's another game that had sort of a sticky situation, and after this we'll jump into our name that stadium. But yeah, with Tua, getting benched, man, what'd you think of that?
I thought it was actually the right move.
Okay, let me hear why.
Well, Tua is first of all, Tua has been. I mean, in college, Tua was benched when he wasn't performing, and the following game he bounced right back. So that's one thing. Secondly, Tua wasn't doing shit.
Yeah.
And this team's fighting for potentially a playoff spot, potentially a division. They needed to do something to get that team. You pull out the starting left guard. That's not gonna light the fire. And you bench the quarterback. That's gonna make the team stand up and look and like, oh wow, this is supposedly the guy of the future, and they're pulling him out. I better set my shit up.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and when the first report came out that he was benched, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's got something to do with this foot injury, and they think that that's why he was having a rough game, and so they were taking him out because he just wasn't right. And then after the game, Flores just flat out said, no, it was a performance thing. And when I heard that, I got a little bit nervous for Tua because I was like, oh man, he's a rookie quarterback, and you never know how guys are going to respond to that stuff. Some people are just super resilient, and it's not going to matter. I think what you said was a very good point. In college, there's a history of when he's off track, if he got benched, that gets his ass back in the game for the next time, and, he's locked and loaded. So maybe this was the right way to handle it. I just worry because we did talk about this a few weeks ago, that if the team started to lose, would the fans turn on him because they were in the hunt for the playoffs. And, I don't think it's a severe, like, dire straits situation yet. But, every week now is going to be critical for this team.
Yeah, which is true. And then like I saw it like right before we started. I guess Tua jammed his hand or something, or banged up his hand in practice today.
Okay.
I haven't been able to read the article. I just happened to see something about it come up, like right as we were starting. I was like, so that's a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, that's a factor that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, enough of that. Let's move over to Name That Stadium. So, for everybody watching in this part of the show, basically, you can see James is on the move here. Every week, he's got a new stadium in the background, and this is a stadium for one of the home teams that's playing this week. We're asking our viewers to take a shot at naming that stadium. If you're the first person to get the answer right in the comments section, you get a special shout out in next week's show. So, James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
Last week I was at what do they call it? The Death Star in Vegas for
Yeah.
the KC Raiders game, the Chiefs Raiders game.
Nice. And so, did that stick with your theme of the best game of the week?
It did. It did. It was what I thought was the best game, and it turned out to be a hell of a game.
Oh, I
I
know, dude. I thought for a minute there they were going to get him twice, man. Because they got him whatever back in week 5 or whatnot, and they came out of that game and they were throwing punches, man.
Yeah, the problem with Vegas, I see their defense. Like if
Yeah.
if their defense was a little bit better, I think they would have been um, they would have had more of a chance to win the game. But I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes. He's ridiculously good.
Oh yeah, and they kept it close. I mean, it was impressive. Derek Carr, I tell you, for how much I dogged that guy in the offseason, it's definitely clicked with him and Gruden. And, I think he's finally getting it, like what he's got to do to live up to what Gruden is expecting him. And he looks like a different quarterback, man.
Yeah. So like I heard an interview with him at the beginning of the season, and he was basically saying, you know what, fuck it. I have enough friends. I don't need to go out there and get friends. I need to go out there and win fucking games.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. I don't give a shit if I rub you the wrong way or not.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if it was this game or one of the weeks before, but I heard him talking during the game. Not him, but the announcers, the commentators, and they were saying that it was a tough transition for Derek Carr because when Gruden came in, he basically had to strip him down. Like, hey, you learned how to play football and read defenses in all these different ways and go through your progressions all these different ways. And basically he was like, throw all that stuff out. I do it differently. You need to get on board with what I'm doing or it's never going to work. And, apparently it took some time, but now this year, finally the light bulb turned on and it's like, okay, now he's like built back up and he's getting it and it's clicking and it's working. And, it's pretty cool to see. But I did want to say one thing about the stadium. Man, that torch that they have, like behind the end zone, like up a little ways, that thing is fucking sweet looking, man.
Yeah, it is.
That's,
It is.
I feel like we got, gypped a little bit as Lions fans. Like back when they built Ford Field, it was like, I don't know, like a $600 million stadium or something. It was super nice. But it seemed like, 5 years later, now all of a sudden, the stadiums that were coming out were just like night and day different. Like so much cooler, so much nicer. And it just, the stuff they're doing now, it just blows me away, man.
Yeah, it's some these stadiums now. I mean, you have with like that one's nice. I think the one in LA is even nicer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. And then, what is the name of the one in Minnesota? I mean, that one's sweet, too.
U.S. Bank.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, U.S. Bank. I mean, geez, they're just. Hey, one day we'll get there, man. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Although
Okay.
in Detroit, I do like Comerica Park. I think they did a good job building that up. It feels like you're just chilling outside watching a baseball game.
You're right about that. I do like Comerica, and even when you're like sitting high up, you feel close to the field. Like the way it was
Exactly.
designed, I think they did a really good job there. You're right about that. Okay, so let's flip it over to the power rankings. Why don't you hit me up with your top five, man?
All right. So again, for was this like the fifth week in a row, fourth week in a row? Whenever I bump Pittsburgh up to the one, I have Pittsburgh at number one. I still think that Kansas City would have a shot at beating them. I don't think any. I'm starting to believe that no defense can stop that offense.
Hmm.
But I got to respect the what 11-0, 10-0 record, whatever they are now, 10-0. 10-0 record of Pittsburgh and leave them at number one. Then I got KC at two. I dropped them down after their loss a few weeks ago, and well, no, yeah, it was like that was right around the
Yeah,
time I started.
it was when they lost to the Raiders, man. We
Yeah,
that was around the time that we moved Pittsburgh up, and Pittsburgh's just never let go.
yeah, and then at three I got Indy. This is kind of twofold. Indy just beat Green Bay,
Hmm.
which was my number three, and so I had Indy at four. So I mean, I just flipped them. Indy and Green Bay dropped Green Bay to four because I can't justify Green Bay being above Indy when Indy beat them. And then I moved Tennessee up three spots.
Okay.
The thing I see with Tennessee, I moved them up to five. The thing I see with Tennessee is that offense. Like, did you see it was AJ Brown's touchdown where he was like he
Oh,
broke like
beast
four
mode for a wide
tackles.
receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then Derrick Henry just pounds the shit out of the defense, and like he had what like 80 yards, 90 yards in the second half because the defense just couldn't tackle him anymore.
Yeah, and I think you called that last week when we were talking that you thought they were a good shot to upset them.
Yeah, so so that's my top five.
Ah, well said. So yeah, I've got Pittsburgh at one and Kansas City at two, just the same as it's been pretty much since after week five. Pittsburgh, hey, they did what they were supposed to do. They kicked the shit out of a bad team. I mean, I hate saying it that way, but that's exactly what it is. I mean, their offense put up solid points, 27, and their defense held, a bottom feeder team with a backup quarterback to 3 points. And they got 4 picks to boot. I mean, it was just a solid effort. Kansas City, yeah, I'm still comfortable totally with them at two, especially with them just beating the Raiders. But, like we talked about, there was a moment there where I thought, wow, the Raiders are just going to find a way to stick in this game, and maybe they'll pull it off again. Who knows? But, Mahomes, it seems like he just always finds a way. And I agree with you. If they played Pittsburgh, could Pittsburgh's defense stop them? I don't know. I mean, that'd be a great game to watch, and maybe it'll happen in the playoffs. Time will tell. At three, I've got the Saints, and this one I went back and forth on a lot, and so I moved them. I had them at four last week, so I only moved them up one spot. But I get it that it could be tough justifying it with them having a backup quarterback, but it's not just any backup quarterback, and I think the thing is, in my mind, I keep looking at my model, and this roster is just so stacked on both sides of the ball that I don't know. I like them where they're at. I think the defense has gotten better every week. The offense just keeps finding ways to get it done, despite us calling out Breeze's lack of arm strength and things like that every week. And so I'm putting them here for now. We'll see if they can maintain it. At four, I've got Green Bay. I dropped them down one spot. And, at this point, honestly, I understand why you put Indy above them. And I got Indy at five. And to me, this was like, I got them neck and neck. I thought, man, if there was a playoff game, which I guess would have to be the Super Bowl because AFC, NFC, but I thought, I would trust Rodgers more than Philip Rivers. And, And honestly, I mean, Indy almost gave away that game at the end, man. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. It's like, to me, it was like, wow, like you guys just got lucky. Like, I don't know. I mean, and I don't want to say they just got lucky because they fought back from being down 28-14, but it was like, holy shit, you got that 4th and 4, and then you had like 15 penalties. Like, what are you doing? All you got to do is run the ball and lock it up, man.
But right before that, I had sent you a message that Green Bay was doing everything they could to give the game away to Indy,
Yeah,
and then that
yeah.
shit was happening. It was like neither team wanted to win the fucking game.
Yeah, and I've seen this kind of stuff with Green Bay before where their offense gets out early and then it's like they almost kind of just put it on autopilot. And, to me, it's like, man, you got Aaron Rodgers on that team. You should just be like burying these guys, man. Like, did they really adjust that well? Or was it that Green Bay just kind of got a little bit relaxed?
I That's a good question. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to answer that one. I was watching like I told you, I took a nap at some point during the game. I just kind of fell asleep, and then I wake up and I was like, oh shit, Indy's coming back. What the fuck?
Yeah, totally flipped the script on the game. Yeah. And yeah, so I've got Indy at 5. I moved him up 3 spots. I really like what I'm seeing out of these guys. And I'm a big believer in, the old saying that defense wins championships. Maybe not if you're playing Kansas City, but, in most scenarios, I think that holds true because by the time you get to the playoffs, defenses just keep getting better and better and better as the season goes on. They learn how to stop these offenses, and man, you get some really tough football. I think that that's going to bode well for Indy. I guess I just got to get more comfortable with Rivers. And hey, he got it done this past week, and he's been doing it for most of the season. I mean, it's just, what was it earlier in the year? They lost to Jacksonville, I think. I mean, they did have like a couple of these kind of games where it was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? But I think we're finally seeing them come into form, and I'm impressed with it.
Yeah, and weirdly, that Jacksonville win is probably what's going to keep Jacksonville from being able to get Trevor Lawrence.
It could be, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't really been following too much with the early draft prospects. Is there another highly rated quarterback other than Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, you got what Justin Fields from Ohio
Oh,
State.
the Ohio State guy. Yep, that's right. I
Yeah.
heard about that. Yep.
And then one that, and I would love if the Lions have high enough pick for them to draft is Trey Lance from North Dakota State or North
Oh,
Dakota,
yeah. I heard about him too. Yep, yep.
one of those. Like he's going to be, he's a good prospect. Like their school didn't have a game this year. Like it was like everything was canceled, and they scheduled the game just to showcase him for his draft prospect against like Central Arkansas or some shit like that. And then immediately after the game, he declared for the draft.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. I mean, so hey, maybe Jacksonville has some fallbacks if that's really the way they want to go. All right, man. Hit me up with 6 through 10.
All right, at 6, I have Baltimore. I dropped them down 2 spots. Baltimore is going to continue to tumble. I see so much talent on this team, but I'm wondering if there's issues with the coaches and the players, like between like the offensive coaches, offensive players. Like this team is not
Gotcha.
is not playing well. And also with this week, their game was postponed to Sunday. The Ravens or the league fined a coach or like a strength and conditioning coach for not properly following COVID protocols, not reporting symptoms. He was COVID positive, and that's where it came from.
Oh, not good.
So ultimately, I think, and in my opinion, if Baltimore Pittsburgh can't be played this week, it should be a forfeit for Baltimore because it's purely on the team fucking up.
Well, and that could happen. I mean, they talked about that was a real scenario, a number of weeks ago. Maybe
Yeah.
this is the first one that goes that way.
And then at 7, I have Buffalo. They didn't play this week. I can't really move them. That's probably the only reason why Baltimore didn't fall further is because I couldn't move Buffalo.
Okay.
Um, I got the Rams at 8. A couple things about the Rams. This defense is really good,
Oh yeah.
and if that offensive line can give Jared Goff just a little bit of time where Jared Goff's not running for his life, Jared Goff can eat up fucking defenses. Like I mean, just dink and dunk 5-yard passes and Cooper Kupp runs for another 30 yards. I mean,
Yep.
they have they have a lot of talent at receiver, and I really like what I'm seeing out of this Rams. In fact, I'm starting to believe that the Rams can make the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, I
From what
hear you, man.
And so they're going to continue to climb my board as long as they continue to play like they have been playing. At 9, I have Seattle. I'm sorry, Rams jumped 4 spots to 8. 9, I have Seattle. I'm I'm really down on Seattle. I think that their game against 2 weeks ago, Arizona. I think that game was kind of an aberration for the defense. I don't think that defense is that good. I think they just had the right game plan going in, and plus I didn't realize it. Like when you pointed out to me this week, like Arizona has a bunch of fucking people down on IR. On
Oh,
that defense.
especially on the defensive line. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that when I was making the pick and when I was going through it. But I mean, I think I think Seattle outplayed their talent against Arizona, which was their last game, right? Yeah, because they had a bye last. Yeah, it was last Thursday, so it was just last week. But
Yeah. It feels like a long time ago because we had a show last Friday.
yeah, exactly. Arizona dropped 4 spots to number 10. Um, I The injuries on this team concerned me. I didn't realize they had as much of an injury issue as they do.
Yeah.
Um, Kyler Murray, there's some questions on him coming in this week because he had the shoulder injury early in the game against Seattle, and I think that this team without Kyler Murray is a
Oh, they're in
sub.
trouble. Yeah.
They're in trouble. I mean, Kyler Murray without Kyler Murray 100%. If his shoulder's hurting him, and he can't throw the deep ball, this
Yeah.
team's in deep trouble.
Yeah, and I thought about that too because last year, one of the things that a lot of people didn't really talk about is how much Cliff Kingsbury ran the ball. And it worked really well for them last year. This year, it seems like it's been really streaky. And Kenyon Drake, I think overall has been playing well, but he's had a lot of games where he's just been flat out down. And, we talked about it where it seemed like, geez, man, they should be getting Chase Edmonds more involved. And, that might be something where they're going to have their hand forced here. If Murray's not 100%, they're going to have to learn how to ground and pound again. And they can do it. They did it really well last year. And so it's just a matter of probably getting back into that rhythm. But yeah, that could definitely be a factor for this team.
Yeah, and I think I think Edmonds is more consistent, and he should be their starting running back, but they're not seeing it that way there. But I think he's a lot more consistent than what I've seen from Drake this year.
Yeah, I think he's more versatile too. The way he catches the ball, I mean, he's just more fluid as a receiver. I think if I was them, yeah, I would go Edmonds. But I think they got a lot now invested in Kenyon Drake, and so they probably want to make it work. And so we'll see how that plays out. But everybody it seems like is doing running back by committee, and it just I don't know, man. This is why they get paid the big bucks. They figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Or they don't, they get fired, but whatever. Um, so flipping it over my way, I've got the Rams at 6. I moved them up 3 spots. And, really, a lot of the things you're saying ring true. I think this team has impressed me a ton. Coming into the season, I felt a little bit worried about these guys. You know, they had an unknown commodity at defensive coordinator that they were bringing in. You know, what was going to go on with the running game because they had this like three-headed attack. And, you know, I just like the other night watching that game against the Bucks, man, McVay is phenomenal at adjusting the game plan as things move on. And you could see how he did it. Like all of a sudden, the tempo was different. They'd spend a couple extra seconds in the huddle, and then they'd get to the line and immediately snap the ball. And it was like just doing enough to throw off the Bucks defense. And so, I don't know, I love it. Like to me, you know, he's kind of like cut from the same cloth as Kyle Shanahan. It's just that his roster is a lot healthier than the 49ers. And so, you know, he's getting the benefit here. But no, I would love to see these guys make another deep playoff run. I like what they got on both sides of the ball, man. So at 7, I got Buffalo. You know, same as you, man. No move. They didn't play, so I'm keeping them there at 7. At 8, I've got Tampa Bay. I dropped them down 2 spots. You know, like here's the thing: these guys are getting knocked because they're not winning the big games. And in my opinion, you know, I mean, you can say what you want, but like I went back and I was looking at some of the, you know, the game logs and whatnot, and freaking Brady, dude, targeted Antonio Brown 13 times. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know, like, what was that about? Are you just forcing it because you got him into town and you got to like make it, you got to make people see that it can work or what? I mean, to me, it seemed like, you know, had you spread the ball around a little bit more, you might have had a little bit more success. Because I forget the corner's name, but he was actually covering Antonio Brown really well, man. You know, and whatever. Either way, Tampa Bay, you know, they've got talent on both sides of the ball. You know, we've seen what they can do when they gel. And so I think they have potential when playoff time comes. It's anybody's, you know, guess on how they can do, man. I mean, they could do great. They could have one of these streaky games and it could blow up in their faces. But, you know, the pieces are there. At 9, I've got Seattle. I bumped them up 1 spot. You know, and we talked about this a little bit last week. You know, it was great to see them make the adjustments and get the win over Arizona. You know, it probably helped a little bit with Kyler Murray hurting his shoulder. Yeah, you know, and like you said, I mean, what's going on with the defense? Everybody was saying, oh, man, the defense is better. The defense is better. But the one thing we don't want to forget about is that the running game was really solid. And that's something that this team has been missing for a while. You know, they've had Chris Carson out for a number of weeks. Carlos Hyde had been out for a number of weeks. Hyde finally comes back, and they got the run game going great, man. I think they need to do more of that, play some complementary football, and it's going to help take some of the load off the defense. We talked about it earlier in the year with Dallas. If you just let Russ cook and all you're doing is passing, you're really kind of doing a disservice to your defense. And so, you know, maybe for a little while they kind of had to because all their running backs were banged up, but it's finally coming back around. And then at 10, I got Baltimore. You know, this is one I kind of smoked them a little bit. I dropped them down 5 spots. You know, to me, I guess I just kind of felt miffed like, geez, this team had a chance at getting some redemption from that playoff upset last year, and they blew it. I mean, and it seemed like they had control of that game until the end. And like you said, the second half, you know, Tennessee just freaking ran all over them. And, you know, you called it last week, too, in our show that you thought them not having Calais Campbell and what's his name, Williams on the defensive line, that was going to be a factor, and it definitely was. And so now I kind of look at it as until these guys get healthy and, you know, and until on offense Lamar figures out how to throw the deep ball, they're sitting in my penalty box, man.
No, which makes sense. Like I wanted to kill them a little bit more, and I probably should have killed them a little bit more after last week's game, but I didn't. I chose not to because I see what this team can be. Is just a matter of performing up to that. And I mean, shit. Like now that, plus I did my rankings before all this COVID shit.
Oh yeah,
across the team, and that's like Baltimore. I think has a chance of completely missing the playoffs this year.
It could happen, man. It seems like something's starting to slip away from this team.
Yeah, and we'll get to a little bit more down the line with my thoughts on Tampa Bay when I get to them on my rankings.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, let's get to it because they're in your. It looks like in your 11 through 15, man. Why don't you hit
Yeah.
me up?
All right. So at 11, I have New Orleans. I gave them a 2-spot bump. The 2-spot bump is not because I thought I killed them too much with the injury to Breeze. It's more because two teams ahead of them lost bad games that they shouldn't have lost, and I dropped them down. And same with Vegas. Vegas would have stayed the same if I wouldn't have dropped teams below. I have them at 12. It's a 2-spot bump this week, but I dropped these next two teams below Vegas, which is what ends up giving them the 2-spot bump. Number
Okay.
one, Miami. I'm still really high on Miami, but I had to give them a little bit of a ding for losing to Denver. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand it was at Denver, and yes, I understand it was a close game, but Tua didn't play like I thought he should. And I have concerns about the consistency of this team playing this year. I have concerns on them. I think if they play up to their potential, they're definitely a playoff team, but it's a matter of getting that consistently week to week. And eventually, when you're relying on your defense and your special teams to do everything for you, it's going to fail you like it did in a little bit in Denver. At 14, I dropped Tampa Bay down 4 spots. Couple things I see with Tampa Bay. Number one, if you get any pressure, and it's been the same for 5, 6, 7 years. If you get any pressure on Brady, he gets confused. He starts rushing it. He can't play the
Dude,
quarterback like he used to.
it goes back to the first Super Bowl against the Giants, man.
Exactly.
You know, back when they had, Human and some of those guys that were getting heat on them. And, for all the points they were putting up, they shut him down, man. That's what it's all about with Brady. You're absolutely right. You get a little bit of pressure on the guy, and you totally change his game.
Yeah, and then also with Brady, one interesting thing I found in the last 3 weeks for passes over 20 yards. 20 yards or more. Brady is 0 for 15
Oh,
with 3 interceptions.
not good. And that's Bruce Arians' offense, man. You got to
That's
throw
Bruce
that deep
Arians.
ball.
Bruce Arians' offense. Bruce Arians has been basically killing the shit out of Brady in the press all week after that. like talking about how Brady gets confused by coverage.
Oh,
Antonio Brown, the addition of Antonio Brown to this team killed the chemistry on this team because now Brady's trying to force the ball into
yep.
Brown, not doing what he was before, was getting Godwin or getting Evans involved, getting the tight ends involved, getting Ronald Jones involved. Leonard Fournette shouldn't see the field ever on this team. It should just be a solid Ronald Jones, and you go with the 2 tight ends, and you can win games. Look at the Carolina game. They rushed the ball a lot in the Carolina game, and that created time for Brady, and they won that game.
Yep.
New Orleans and the Rams game, they didn't, and they lost those games. My bold prediction of this week is Tampa Bay will not make the playoffs this year.
No shit.
They will not make the playoffs this year. After this week they have this week they have Kansas City. They still have they are, and right there that's five losses. If you go through their schedule, it's like so after this week they have a bye, which is, it's ridiculous that they have a bye in week 13 when there's no byes this week.
I know, dude. It's yeah, but I hear you.
So,
Yep.
So then they have the Vikings, they have the Falcons still, which those they should be able to win.
Those are
Then
winnable, yeah.
the Lions, they should be able to win that. But
Winnable.
then winnable, they and then have fall. Well, okay. So here's the thing with it. Chicago has an easier schedule. Chicago, even though I just listed a bunch of crap teams
Yeah.
that that Tampa Bay still has to play. I mean, Chicago still has a game against Detroit. Chicago, uh, they finished the season with Green Bay. Chicago has Jacksonville. That's a win. Chicago has Minnesota. I mean, that's going to be a close game. And what is the other one? Other two. I should have. They have the Texans. Texans are playing better, but that's still a
Yeah.
very winnable game. And then next week they have the Lions. So Chicago right now is sitting in the driver's seat for that wild card position.
It's an
And
interesting assessment, man.
so I think that Brady and the Bucks, even though they're everyone's favorite, they're like the third betting favorite or the fourth betting favorite to win the Super Bowl this year
Yeah.
for in Vegas. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I think they're going to get in. I just don't know what they're going to do when they get there. But I hear what you're saying. You can make the argument. I just think that they have enough winnable games that with that extra playoff spot, I mean, I got to believe they're going to at least get in.
The way
Yeah.
I'm seeing this team play, I can't see it. And the defense is streaky. Like look at
For sure. Yeah.
Shaq Barrett. Last year he had 19 and a half sacks. He has like 5 this year.
Yeah, when they're playing good, they're playing really fucking good. And then when they're playing bad, it's like, whoa, what the hell is going on with this team?
Yeah, and all their losses are within the NFC so far.
Yeah, and so if they get in the playoffs, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, well, just making the playoffs because that's like the second tiebreaker is conference record.
Yeah, I got you. All right, man. So who do you got at 15?
Rounding out the top, 15, I have Cleveland. I gave them a 1-spot bump. I'm not sold on Cleveland,
Yeah.
but there was a team that I killed this week that was at 15 that we'll get to in a couple more that dropped below, so that ended up giving Cleveland a boost of 1 spot.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Flipping it back to my board, I got Las Vegas at 11. I kept them where they were at. You know, basically, the way I looked at it is they lost to one of the top teams, and so I didn't want to crush them for that. You know, we talked about how Derek Carr's really come around in Gruden's offense, and so you know they're not in my top 10, but they're flirting with it, and so we'll keep them here for now and see what happens. At 12, I've got Tennessee. I bumped them up 3 spots. And so this is really, you know, kind of a reflection of me maybe overreacting in past weeks. And now, like, okay, you beat Baltimore. You know, let's hopefully this gets you back on track. And, you know, we'll see where it goes. But so I got them at 12 now. At 13, I got Arizona. I bumped them up 1 spot. And, you know, here's the thing is that having them at 13 doesn't necessarily seem right. And I bumped them up even though they lost to the Seahawks because I just kind of looked at some of the teams around them on the board and I thought, man, I got to have them a little bit higher than where I did. But I didn't want to do like a huge adjustment because, I mean, they still lost to the Lions, man. And on top of that, they lost to the Panthers and they lost to the Dolphins. And so, you know, I kind of thought 13 is probably a good spot for them. And it was just kind of my back and forth. Okay, well, what about 12? 12's feeling high. 14, I don't know. They're probably better than this team. And so I just kept them at 13. Or I moved them up to 13, 1 spot. At 14, I got Cleveland. I dropped them down 2 spots. And it's tough dropping a team after they get a win. But it's similar to Arizona. I kind of just sat back and I said, you know, let's look at the big picture. This team really only has one credible win, which was against the Colts. And so I kind of just thought, I can't really justify them being ahead of teams like Arizona and Tennessee. I think if they played, I mean, in my mind, Arizona and Tennessee win that game no problem. And so I had to bump them even though they won their game. But then at 15, I've got Miami. You know, we talked about that tricky situation with Tua. Man, you know, we talked a little bit about the Denver game last week and how going into that, Miami did have these kind of fluky plays that were helping them win games. I still thought they could beat Denver. Let's just chalk it up to this was a bad game. I don't know. Denver's defense is pretty good, and so maybe that was a factor in, that turned Tua off in the wrong direction. Who knows? But I dropped Miami 2 spots, and we just got to keep a close eye on this team, man. They're definitely under the microscope now. Okay, back to you, man. 16 through 20.
All right, so at 16, I have San Francisco. They ended up with a 1-spot bump. And the thing with San Francisco is I look at the teams that I have below them.
Yeah.
And I can't see San Francisco losing to that team. Even as decimated as they are with injury, no matter who's playing at quarterback, I cannot see them losing a game against any of these teams below them.
All right, so I have a fun fact for the week. And let me just ask you, if you had to guess, because I'm asking you to guess, how many people do you think San Francisco has on IR?
Well, I know they have something ridiculous like 80 million of cap space on IR. I think it's like 15 or 16.
29.
Jeez.
And that's a couple days old. Maybe some guys have come off because I'm sure a few of them were for COVID. But I went on to spotrac.com, which I like them. I think they do a pretty good job updating. But maybe it's not always 100% accurate. But it looks all right to me. But yeah, I went through the list. They got fucking 29 people on IR, man. And here's the thing that's even worse. Out of that 29. I went through and I looked at the names, and I estimated that 12 of those guys are starters, either on offense or defense.
Yeah, it's like this was a couple weeks ago. It was some ridiculous stat I heard, and don't quote me on it, but it was like $80 million of salary on IR.
Oh, I believe it. You got half of your starters on both sides of the ball not even playing, man. It's amazing they can even take the field. Like that's it blows my mind. So sorry, I had to interrupt because I've been carrying that stat in my back pocket for a few days. It's been burning the hole back there.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's just like if you look at the teams, like I have Chicago at 17, and they got a 1-spot bump, but it's more of a I can't see them losing to the teams below them versus I think this is the right spot for them. Mm-hmm. And I know I just said that Chicago's going to make the playoffs. Or probably going to make the playoffs. Chicago has the tiebreaker over Tampa, but I think it's more of a product of how they've played. Like, I mean, they're just 1 spot off from the playoffs. If you look at the top 16, say it's top 16 make the playoffs, I think San Francisco's slightly better than them. I think they've had a lot more misfortune in San Francisco. I think Chicago needs to figure some things out at quarterback. I think what they should do is just say fuck it, bench Foles, bench Trubisky, and whoever number 3 is, play him, because neither of the top 2 are getting it done.
Yeah, but
that's not going to happen. They're gonna.
Who can you call from the couch, man? Some quarterbacks that are just sitting out there. Nobody's looked at them in a while.
Who is their third quarterback?
I mean, I don't know. Let's go see what Jamarcus Russell's up to, man. That's a joke.
Oh no, I caught the joke, but who is? I'm just curious who their third quarterback is.
I forget. I got it on a spreadsheet somewhere, but
they don't even have one listed on the depth chart.
He's probably it's just a practice squad guy at this point.
Yeah. So, anyways, Chicago is, I think, I think they should go back to Trubisky. I know that's saying a lot, but Foles isn't getting it done. Just cut your losses.
Well, we talked about it. You use Foles late in the season. You don't use him early in the season.
Yeah.
He needs to be a guy that, like, hey, pressure's on. We got to get these fucking wins or we're out. And then he can make it happen. But anytime you put him in for, like, a longer duration of time, it's like the dude just gets too comfortable and he just doesn't get it done.
Well, he had that one good year.
With Chip Kelly in Philly?
Yeah.
Where he had like 24 touchdowns to like 3 picks or something crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say 27-3, but
I don't know. It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had that one good year, but outside of that, he hasn't put together a good full season.
Yeah, I agree.
At 18, I have the Giants. They got a 1-spot bump, and it's more of a. I think I might be actually a little low on the Giants.
Okay.
I have to see them win a couple more games for them to get more of a bump. But when I look at this team, all their games are close. Every single one of them. Daniel Jones, the last 2 weeks it is now. I had misremembered last week. He has not turned the ball over the last 2 weeks. And his last two games, and the last 2 games they won. I might be low on this team at 18. 19, I had the Chargers. I finally gave them a little bit of love. They beat the Jets. This defense is not playing good enough, but Herbert's the real deal at quarterback.
Yeah,
and I'm starting to think that he might end up being the best quarterback out of this draft class.
I can't argue with that, man. I cannot argue with that.
I think because the question we asked last week with who's going to have a better career, I went with Tua because of the division.
Yeah, and the team that's around him, it looked like wow, they flooded that team with like young new talent, and the coach is an up and comer. It just seemed like you give that team, a little bit more time on that trajectory, and that's like the safest of the group. But Herbert, he looks like he's got the, definitely he's got the right stuff, man. And I've heard about it all year about how phenomenal his accuracy has been, which is like the exact opposite of what I heard about the guy coming out of college. And so that's like, okay, it just goes to show he's already taken that next step. And so, yeah, I'm excited for this guy.
Yeah, and I for being in LA, the Chargers don't have fans. If I were to abandon the Lions, this might be the team I would pick.
Well, you always got to have a backup team.
The Rams would be the trendy one, but I think I see down the line the Chargers becoming a solid team.
Oh, I could see it too for sure.
Running out the top 20, I got Denver. They got a 3-spot bump for beating Miami. I think Denver's really outplaying what they have left with the injuries. So I don't think Locke is the answer there. Which a theory I have is I think if I was John Elway, as soon as the season ended and you can make it whenever you can make trades, I would pick up the phone and call the Lions and say, what do you want for Stafford?
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, don't pawn off Locke onto the Lions, man. But yeah, no, I got you.
What do you want for Stafford?
Yeah.
And give whatever the Lions want for Stafford. Put Locke on the bench. Let him learn. Give him a couple years. And a couple years behind Stafford. And then once Stafford, play 2-3 years there, bring Locke in and see what you have. I don't think this team's not bad enough to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah.
So you're looking free agency or trading for a quarterback.
Yeah. I got you.
But I think Locke needs some time. I think that's what it is. He just needs that time to mature, to develop his game.
Yeah. Yeah, or I just keep talking shit about him every week because, isn't that the trend? It's like I talk shit, he wins, and then I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have talked shit. And then they lose, and then I talk shit again and they win. And that's just how it's going, man.
So that's why I'm talking shit about him after a win.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine what I'd be saying about him if they lost.
All right, so back over to me. I got the Cardinals. Blah, blah, blah. I've got Carolina at 16. I moved them up 3 spots. I know it's aggressive, man. I don't know what it is with this team, but when I watch them, I just like them. And I know that the wins haven't always been there, but, it's kind of the opposite of our rant on the Lions. They shut out the Lions, man. And they put up, 20 points with a backup quarterback. And so I just got to give them credit for that. I kind of looked at it. I got the Bears at 17, and I was thinking, geez, could Carolina beat Chicago? I don't know, man. I just think it would be a close game and a good game, and so I kind of thought this seems like an all right spot for them. Chicago, they didn't play, so I kept them where they were at. At 18, I got Minnesota. I dropped them down 2 spots. And, we talked a little bit last week about how I had a feeling that the Dallas game could have been sort of a trap game since they were coming off a bye week and they were getting Andy Dalton back. It just sucks because I was talking up Minnesota and then the fuckers made me look bad and they lost. But, what can you do? I dropped them 2 spots. I think that they can rebound. After their bye week a few weeks ago, they've been on a tear, man. They beat Green Bay. They've just been running all over people. And they had just kind of a bad game against Dallas. We'll see. If they don't get back on track, then I have no problem smoking them on my board. I had them way low a couple weeks ago. At 19, I've got New England. I dropped them down just by 1 spot. Here's something interesting about this game against Houston. Cam had 371 yards of total offense, and it wasn't enough to get the win. Which, by the way, Deshaun Watson had 380 yards of total offense. Both of these guys, the vast majority of those yards was through the air, man. I did not expect either one of them to move the ball that well. I don't know. I mean, so I got New England at 19. They're showing signs of life. And, I thought if they got the passing game going, that would be the missing piece. If they can keep it going, I don't know, maybe. Maybe this was just a rough game. But so I got them here for now. At 20, I got the 49ers. They didn't play, so I kind of just kept them where they were at. Like I said, man, 29 fucking guys on IR. It blows my mind. And so I can't have them higher than this. If they were healthy, I would have them for sure at least 5 or 8 spots higher because I love Shanahan. I love Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator. They got guys on both sides of the ball that I like. Kittle, Fred Warner. It's just like, holy shit, they can't get healthy, man. They can't get healthy. All right, that's all I got there. How about you give me 21 through 25?
All right, so at 21, I have Houston. Houston got a 3-spot bump after beating New England. When I did my power rankings and I sat down and I was doing it and I looked at it, and Houston and New England, which I have at 22, which was a 7-spot drop, they were right there neck and neck. So I gave Houston the edge because they just beat New England, and New England I obviously got demoted to 22. I may have smoked them a little bit too much for losing to Houston, but I mean, this team is almost devoid of talent. Almost devoid of talent. They have a little bit here and there, and they just have to figure it out. And they probably would at 22, that might be even a little high for them, but it's Bill Belichick, and I kind of got to give them a little bit because of Belichick. At 23, this is my biggest increase of the week, which is Washington. And I know that seems aggressive to give Washington a 7-spot bump.
I like it.
But the thing of it is more and more when I look at this team, I like what I'm seeing. I like the direction they're going in. And also I couldn't put them behind Cincinnati anymore.
Gotcha.
24 is a tie with Washington. It's really, if I had to rank these teams, I probably would rank both these teams at 23. At
Okay.
Dallas at 24. They got a 7-spot bump. I really liked what I saw from this team playing. They for the first time all year, I thought they were playing as a cohesive team.
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy that it took this long. It took losing Dak, going through some other backups at quarterback, and yeah, like they're finally playing. It seemed like complimentary football, man. I don't know. I agree with you.
And the thing with Dallas is, which first of all, to start with Dallas, they actually announced today that Marcus Paul did pass away. It was
Yeah, the
today.
strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, the strength and conditioning coach. He apparently had a massive heart attack before practice at the facility, and he was treated there and transferred to the hospital and then died. But died with his family there, which is sad. And it's crazy that something like that can happen that suddenly. But with Dallas before the Minnesota game, I don't know if you heard this story, but when the pregame speech, Mike McCarthy brought in a bunch of watermelons and a sledgehammer.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah.
Talking about how Minnesota was hard on the outside but soft on the inside, and started smashing watermelons with a sledgehammer.
It helped.
And it helped. So what's he going to do next? But that's neither here nor there. I just really liked what I saw, and I think that motivated. They had motivation, and they played actually like a team.
Nice.
Cincinnati got a 4-spot drop this week. The majority of this drop is because of Burrow's injury.
Oh yeah.
I guess they're starting Brandon Allen or Bruce Allen or whatever the hell his name is from the practice squad this week. I think only giving them a 4-spot jump with the loss of Burrow is generous. I'm going to say this, and I shouldn't call for some of these jobs because somebody could call for my job any day, but I think Zach Taylor needs to be fired.
Yeah, it's tough, man. He was supposed to be the offensive guru, and
right. Because
yeah.
I place 100% of the Burrow injury on him. 100% of it.
Yeah.
He should not have had him dropping back as much as he did, and neglecting to run the ball with that Swiss cheese offensive line they had. And now look what happened.
Yeah, we talked about it before that, if you can't keep the guy safe, just fucking run the shit out of the ball, man. Yeah, you might fall behind in the game, but you're going to keep him healthy, and then you can set him up. It's not like you don't pass at all. It's just that you be smarter about where and when you do it, and hopefully your run game is beating up that defensive line a little bit so that when you do pass, they're not getting as much pressure on your guy, man. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's a tough situation. But all right, so looking at mine, I got Los Angeles Chargers at 21. I moved them up 3 spots. Might be a little bit aggressive since they just beat the crappy-ass Jets, and it was actually kind of a close game at the end. This move is partially about that, and it's partially about just kind of how the board has moved around them. Plus, it looks like they're going to finally be getting Eckler back, which I'm excited about. And so...
No.
You kidding me? I heard that they're activating him off IR.
Oh, no, I don't want him to come back.
Oh, jeez. I was like, what are you talking about, man? I swear I read it right.
No,
All right.
I read this. I didn't read that, but I don't want him to come back because I picked up what's his face.
Oh,
Or
Kalen Balaj.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I got Eckler in fantasy, so I've been waiting for this.
yeah. I picked him up before last week's game,
I got you.
but
Well,
it's just
hey,
like, of course,
I don't know how much he's going to play this week necessarily, but he's getting back, which is important for this team, I think.
yeah.
All right. So at 22, I got Atlanta. I moved them down one spot. Really because it was a divisional game against New Orleans, and they were starting Taysom Hill. I think some people were predicting that Atlanta could pull off the upset. I just look at it like, hey, man, yeah, well, I know, man, you got to throw some darts, but I think New Orleans is so stacked, and it's finally coming together for them that I just thought it was an uphill battle. So even though they lost, I didn't want to kill them on my board. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. I still think Atlanta's been playing well ever since Raheem Morris took over as interim head coach. They just had a couple tough games. At 23, I've got Denver. I moved them up 3 spots. I mean, James, I think we've covered it pretty well. These guys piss me off. I talk shit, they win. I give them credit, they lose. It just sucks. So, they're just too inconsistent. That's all it is. And sometimes you just got to remember, rookie quarterback, they got a lot of things going on. That's kind of what you get with a rookie. Not a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback. Sorry about that, but you get that until the guy, like you said, matures. You're going to have some of that streakiness. At 24, I've got Washington. I moved them up 5 spots. I like that you moved them up significantly too, because I honestly was starting to think when I moved them to 24, maybe it was a little bit high. But I think Alex Smith is getting better every week, the way he's been shaking off the rust. And I look at the rest of the teams on my board, and I'm like, kind of like what you did earlier. I'm like, I'm like, Washington, I think, could beat all these next teams I got. And so I thought 24 was good. At 25, I've got Houston. I moved them up 3 spots. I think it's great they beat the Patriots. I wasn't about to flip them with the Pats just because Houston's been down in the dumps all year, and I think the Pats have shown some more potential. It was just a good game. And honestly, here's the thing. Aside from this win against the Pats, really, their only other wins are against the Jags. And so it's like, man, how about you beat some other teams and then we can talk. So
yeah. Well, no, which makes sense. Like I said, once when I was doing my rankings, I had it them right behind. I had the Patriots, the drop, and then the raise for Houston, and it's like, okay, I have Houston right behind. Well, no, I can't put Houston behind New England, so that just gave them that extra spot.
No, and that wasn't like me calling you out with how you moved them. This is just kind of my justification for my board. But I know exactly what you were doing, and I think it's all credible, man. I think there's more than one way to skin a cat here.
Yeah. Well, plus if you look at it, you moved them up 3 spots. I moved them up 3 spots. So it's like we had the same reaction. I just was a little bit higher on them before. Before.
Yeah, good stuff, man. All right, give me 26 through 30, man.
All right, so at 26, I have Philadelphia. There's something wrong with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
There's something seriously wrong with Carson Wentz. This team's getting healthier. Carson Wentz has gotten worse. You can't be the freaking Cleveland team that has their best player on the entire roster out.
Mm-hmm. And, let me just tell you something real quick, because I was looking at this and I was like, to me it seems like Wentz is trying to do too much, and it's getting him in trouble. It's like he just he's throwing the ball like he's got to make a play when he doesn't really have to make the play. He can just be safer and play the long game, and they'll probably win more. But the one thing that was kind of perplexing to me is that when I looked at their defense, they're near the top in sacks, which I kind of knew. I've been tracking them, and I like Philly. You know, I like Jim Schwartz. But the thing that threw me off is that their secondary is like way at the bottom, man. They barely have any picks. And it's like, come on, man, you brought in, big play Slay. How's that working out for you? You know, I just, it's like there's the defense. It's just like you got a solid front four, and then it just is like nothing else is going on there, apparently.
Yeah. So one thing about Philadelphia I've been hearing about, and I've been hearing rumors start to bubble up that in the offseason they're getting rid of Wentz.
It'd be nuts because they signed him to such a big contract. But maybe, man, maybe. You bite the bullet and you move on.
Wait for the next one. In the offseason, they're firing Peterson.
I mean, I believe that. You know, people have been calling for his head all season, man.
And but Wentz, they signed him to the big megabuck contract, but at some point you just got to cut your losses. He's regressing. He's not getting better. He's getting worse. And I think drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round fucked with his head.
I agree 100% on that. Yeah.
And it really messed him up. And he's trying to play perfect. When if you look when he doesn't have the time or to think about what's going on, he plays better. Mm-hmm. When he has time and he just sucks it up. And I think and we talked about it too. I think they messed up by drafting Hurts. I think that was the one situation where you pass.
Don't put the pressure on the guy. Yeah.
Conversely, look at Green Bay. Rodgers is having one of his best statistical years.
Oh, he's pissed. Yeah, he's pissed that they drafted a quarterback.
So on one hand, in Philadelphia, it fucked with his head. On the other hand, in Green Bay, it motivated the shit out of him.
Oh yeah, it's funny how it works, man. You know, here's one thing about Philly too. Before you move on, is that, you know, and we've probably talked about this before, but Philly is one of the toughest cities to be a head coach. It's one of the toughest cities to be a quarterback. You know, I think back at all the years, you know, when Andy Reid was there and they had Donovan McNabb, you know, and especially, you know, in recent years, it's easier to look back and look at it because it's all fresh. But after they won that Super Bowl, you know, as soon as that team started to sag a little bit, people were already fucking calling for Peterson's head, man. And it's just like, wow. Like, if Detroit had that kind of like a magical run and won the Super Bowl, we'd be like, fuck, lose for 10 years straight. We don't care, man. We're good for now. But, like, that fan base is just so...
Super Bowl. Just make it to the Super Bowl.
Just get there. Yeah, we'll be in awe for a long time.
Win more than one playoff game.
Yeah. But Philly's fan base is just ruthless, man. And so I could see it happening, and I would love to go and get Peterson. Bring him to Detroit, man. I'd be fine with that.
We have to fire Patricia first.
Yeah, I don't want him to bring Wentz with him, but, you know, bring him over and let's start over.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Yeah. I'll let you get back to your board here.
At 27, I have Minnesota. I gave them a 2-spot drop. Watching this game against Dallas, the game was there for Minnesota to take it.
Yeah.
They just Cousins made a few mistakes that lost the game for Minnesota.
Yeah, he's having a bad year. I know that recent weeks he's gotten a lot better, but you look at how just slow he started the year, and then this past week, and it's like, man, it sucks. You know, he's had so many good seasons. This is just not one of them. Yeah,
exactly. And the thing with Minnesota is Minnesota also kind of would have stayed the same after that loss, because I thought it was just this. They just had an off day, but I jumped Washington and Dallas so far up my board.
I got you.
Which jumped ahead of two teams jumped ahead of them. Logically, they have to move back. 28, I have Atlanta. it's a situation. It stayed the same from last week, but it kind of is like I jumped two teams ahead of them, moved two teams behind them, and they stayed the same.
Yeah, that's just how it washed out. Yeah.
And the same with Carolina at 29. It's just I like what I see from Carolina. I need to see a little bit more. I need to see them beat a team that's not the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. No,
So
I know I'm like way ahead of myself with Carolina with how high I got them, but
no,
yeah,
I respect that because that's what I see in the team is where you have them, but the wins aren't there to justify me putting them up there.
yeah,
And that's why I'm leaving them down towards the bottom until I see those wins piling up and they win those close games. They've played those tough games and they've punched people in the mouth. They just can't finish a game. It's the same thing with the Chargers. Like I needed to see the Chargers to finish a game before I moved them up any.
yeah, I agree.
At 30, I don't want to talk about that team. They moved down 4 spots. I don't believe they exist anymore. So, what do you have at 26?
So, well, I guess you're making me feel bad now because I've got Detroit at 26.
Yeah, that was the joke. I looked at who you had at 26, so I knew you'd be talking about him instead of me.
Yeah, you're setting me up. I get it. And I mean, hey, listen, the embarrassment is back. I mean, we talked about it. Not only did they get shut out, they lost to a team with a backup quarterback, yada, yada, yada. It was a nice win for Carolina, and it was a humiliating loss for Detroit. I dropped them down 1 spot, and really, honestly, the only reason I didn't drop them down more is because they have enough wins on their record that I'm looking at the teams behind them, and I'm like, yeah, maybe they could win them. Or maybe they could win against them. I don't know. So I got them here for now. And, I mean, you know me, man. I'm like sadistic at this point. I want them to lose so we can blow it up and start over. At 27, I got the Giants. This is one that's tough because, honestly, you inspired me last week to do a deeper dive on this team and move them up. I just thought, listen, it's a bye week. I'm going to keep them where I had them. And this week, I want to see what they do against a hobbled Cincinnati team. If they spank these guys like they should, then I'm really going to be like, okay, let's do that deep dive and move them up. But I want to see them like really crush a team that they should crush because they should do that to Cincinnati. At 28, I got Philly. I killed him, man. I dropped him down 5 spots. I've been trying to stay hopeful all year, and at this point, I'm just kind of, I guess you could say I'm throwing in the towel a little bit. Until they get their shit together, I just can't have them higher on my board. We talked about it. Wentz, he's killing this team. I don't think it's just Wentz. I think it's Wentz, and I think it's their secondary. And, I don't know. They just got to get other people in the mix. Run the ball more. Take the pressure off of him. This guy's not Kyler Murray, man. Don't have him playing like he is because he's just not going to get the same result. And they have running backs, man. They got Boston Scott, they got a lot of running backs. I mean, Miles Sanders, obviously, but it's like just do something different. That's all I'm asking. Just change it up.
If you think about it for the NFC East, we've been killing this division all year.
Yeah.
If the winner of the NFC East wins out, they will be barely above 500.
Yeah. So it's, the likely scenario is like however many years ago when the Seahawks got in at 7-9. They're going to make the playoffs with a losing record.
I think it's going to be worse than that.
Oh yeah, no, I think it definitely could be. I'm just saying that, like, it's going to be like that, where we got a team getting in that really doesn't deserve to be there. That's just kind of like the flaw of the system.
Right, because like if you look at the NFC East, like just take a look at next week. Dallas plays Baltimore.
Yep.
Washington plays Pittsburgh.
Yep. Those are losses, man. Yeah.
Philadelphia plays Green Bay.
That's a loss. Should
And the
well, I mean, Philly, I think in the past has actually played Green Bay pretty hard, so you never know. But it should be a loss. Yep.
and the Giants play Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the following week, the Giants play Arizona. Dallas. Okay, so Dallas will win. They got Cincinnati.
They could win. They could win.
They could win. The Eagles play the Saints.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And where's Washington? Where's Washington on this? And Washington plays San Francisco. Okay. It's just they have a rough, because Washington still has to play Seattle.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, they play the AFC or the NFC West, and all their games, just glancing at it, seem to be against NFC West teams.
Yeah. Just getting spanked. It could happen, man. It could be a nasty team making the playoffs, and I don't know. Maybe it'll inspire a rule change where it's like, hey, you really got to win at least 6 games, or we're gonna trump you and put somebody else in.
Yeah, so I'm glancing at it, and I see possibly 2-3 wins maximum for any of these teams in this division because it's like they play the AFC North and the NFC West, and most of their games, besides the last week of the season, are against the AFC North or the NFC West.
Yeah, those are tough games.
It's just and it's not like the bottom of those divisions. Well, besides one, it's like the Ravens or Seattle or Pittsburgh. They're rough games.
Yeah.
In all honesty, you could have a 5-win team make the playoffs from this division.
It'd be nuts. It would be nuts. It could happen. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. I mean, we'll be freaking the fuck out if it happens. I mean, that'll be like a whole gridiron grinder on its own. Like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So sorry, you can go back to your rankings.
Yeah. No. Hey, I like the
NFC East on that.
Yeah. What was it? I was thinking the eastbound and down. Kenny's cutting in. You gotta, when these things hit you, man, you just gotta run with them. 29. I got Dallas. I moved him up a spot. Definitely could have moved him up higher. I thought it was a nice win coming off their bye week. I just don't want to get too excited yet because they've had just like a shit show of a year. And here's the thing: when I look at their schedule. So you're saying they've got some tough games, but I think that, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think that minus a few of those tough ones, they've actually got the majority of their games left are winnable if they can play smart football, which is nuts because they're still in the fucking hunt to win their division. And you look like you're looking at the schedule right now.
Yeah.
So here, let me give you. Oh yeah, well yeah. Go ahead.
You're right. Glancing at it, like they have Baltimore, and then they have Cincinnati, which is winnable. They have San Francisco, which is winnable. They have Philadelphia, which is winnable, or losable, or tieable, however you want to call it, and they have the Giants. So they do have the easiest schedule of all the teams in that division.
Yeah, I mean they could potentially win 4 games, man. That would be like the thing that propels them to the top of their fucking division, man. But yeah. I don't know that they'll win those games. I'm just saying that they are winnable.
Oh, yeah, and they have Washington this week. So they have one really good team left on their record.
And I think when I looked at it, I thought San Fran would be tougher, but all the injuries, you never know. But if that's the case, you're saying 4 out of 6 are winnable games, even if you say San Fran's a tougher one. There's potential there. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so at 30, I got Cincinnati. I dropped them down 8 spots. I basically just put one in the head, and I was like, sorry, guys, you're done. Without Burrow, that's it. And the only reason I don't have them lower is because Jacksonville and the Jets, as you know, are complete dog shit. And so, This is where they're at, and maybe like this no-name quarterback will like give them a little bit of spark, and they'll win a game here or there. I'm not counting on it.
No! They're starting Blaine Gabbert this week.
Oh, okay. Well, still, I don't know that it's going to do much.
Yeah.
But he's a seasoned quarterback, so I don't know. But yeah, they're in trouble. So I got him at 30 for now. If Blaine Gabbert does something, hey, I'd be happy to move him up a couple spots, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Jacksonville, I killed them. They got the four spot drop this week. I couldn't drop them to 32 because we're talking about the Jets there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped them 4 spots for losing to Pittsburgh, but I thought the team would actually show up to the game.
Yeah, I think you were calling the upset, weren't you?
Yeah, I thought. And
it was aggressive, James. It was aggressive.
It was. And one stat that I didn't see before the game was Pittsburgh was like something like 26-4 in their last 30 games against a rookie quarterback.
Oh.
So
yeah, they spanked Luton, man. 4 picks.
Yeah. And if you and they're in the picks when we were making our picks last week, as I was going through like all these stats as why Pittsburgh would lose, I talked myself into it, and I shouldn't have let myself talk myself into it.
Yeah. And it's tough because honestly, I try personally sticking to my model as much as possible, but it's like earlier in the year, man, you told me it's like, well, when you stick to the model, when I stick to the model, basically all I'm doing is picking the favors because my model is picking, it's looking at all of the player ratings. And that's similar to how some of these lines get made. It's like, well, if all the player ratings are higher, that team's going to have a more likely chance of winning. And so it's tough because every now and then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, but I really like this team. And they're not the favor. But then it's like, it seems like more times than not, when I override my model, I get burned. And so it's hard to pick those random games because even if I'm picking my model all the time, it's only hitting 65%. So, it's not like it's a foolproof kind of thing.
Yeah. Which, I mean, last week when we talk about the picks, I should have, in some instances, I should have overridden my model on it. In some instances, I shouldn't have. Like the stupid Jacksonville game. Like, outside Jacksonville and Carolina, I went straight 100% by what my model was saying.
Gotcha.
And it led to only 7 out of 14. So
but this past week, it was a tough week. I mean, we talked about it last week in our show that this was probably the hardest week to pick the games. There were so many of them that all it took was one injury report update and it just ticked it over just enough to change the outcome. And so it was a really hard week to pick. And it was crazy because we had 9 games against each other. And at the end of the day, I think I only went up by 1 game. I mean, we'll get there in a minute, but, for that much action, shit, one of us could have fucking swung it by 4 or 5 games, man. It could have been crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We both had a brutal week.
Yeah. All right. So I think we kind of covered 31 and 32, even though we've been talking about other stuff. The Jags and the Jets, they suck. We don't really need to beat them up too bad. So let's.
What is there to talk about them? I mean, the Jets might be getting Darnold back.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, and
Does that matter?
Hey, they kept it. They kept it within a touchdown of the Chargers. I thought, you could say, well, maybe that's impressive because the Chargers, they've had so much potential. But then you say, well, yeah, the Chargers don't know how to close though, and so
exactly,
it doesn't matter, man. It just doesn't matter. All right, so here we go. Moving on to Week 12 picks, or I guess I always say that, and then I give us the recap of Week 11 and where we're at. Just to recap, we're at 102 and 104 wins respectively, which is good for 64 and 65%. We're slipping a little bit. We were 66% just a couple weeks ago. Last week, by far and away, our biggest week of variance with 9 different games. We both said it, that this was the toughest week. Our models were just so tight in so many matchups. When the dust settled, I got 8 wins. It puts me up 2 games on the year, man. We still got a hell of a nail biter going on. And like we were just saying, a week like last week, that could have been the thing that swings the whole deal. One of us could have been up by like fucking 5 games after last week. And the fact that that can happen, it tells me that this thing still, even though we're only 2 games apart, it's still anybody's race between now and the end of the year, because we'll probably have another 1 or 2 of these weeks where we have a lot of variance. This week's not going to be like that, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, hey, it's tight, dude. It's fun. It's a nail biter. We got $100 of whiskey on the line. I want it. I know you want it. And may the best man win, man.
Yeah. Which one thing we didn't are we just doing regular season for it? Or are we doing throughout the playoffs too?
I thought we were going to do regular season.
That's
but,
what I thought too. Then Tori asked me, was that regular season or playoffs? I was like, wow.
Well, let's do this. Let's do regular season, and then let's come up with a new bet for the playoffs.
All right.
Let's take some time to think about the playoffs. But yeah, no, I like that. That gives us something else to go for, man. Okay, so tomorrow, Thursday, Thanksgiving. It was a triple header, but it has changed because now Baltimore and Pittsburgh, like we've talked about, they got pushed to Sunday. So let's start off. Houston at Detroit. Who do you like, man?
Okay. So here's the thing about Detroit and Thanksgiving Day. Yes, they created the tradition. That's about all that's good to say about Detroit and Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, jeez.
The last 12 times the Lions were an underdog on Thanksgiving Day, they lost outright.
Oh.
The last 12 years, they fucking lost, or not 12 years, 12 times that they were an underdog.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Day, they lost outright. In fact, they need something miraculous to happen to possibly win on Thanksgiving Day. I remember a couple years ago, Joey Harrington came in and threw like 72 touchdowns.
When he was with the Dolphins, yeah, that was embarrassing. Yeah, and then he never did anything else again.
Exactly. Like the one you had the coin flip game where the only I don't even know if they won that game or not, but the only reason they had a chance to win the game was because the referee misheard Jerome Bettis calling heads and thought he said tails.
Yeah. Fucking Lions, man.
Yeah, so there's no way in hell I'm picking the Lions to win this game.
Okay.
I would rather cut off my left testicle.
Oh, and that's the good one, man. They say the left one makes more juice.
Exactly. So the other thing about it is, after the Lions lose to the Texans, I fucking pray they get rid of Matt Patricia's ass. Here's the thing, they've done it before after a Thanksgiving Day loss. I can't remember which coach it was.
Well, was that the 0-16 deal though?
I don't
with
give a
Rod
shit.
Marinelli?
No, it wasn't. I think it was Mariucci that they fired after Thanksgiving Day.
Oh. See, my thing is that it seems like we're starting to get late in the season to do a coach change. You know, I mean, I'm all for it. You know that I want it to happen. I'm just not going to be as surprised if they keep losing games and they don't do anything because, we're getting to that point where it's like, fuck it, ride it out. These guys suck. We all know that they're going to get fired, or at least they should. And, we'll see what happens. But here's the thing. Okay, so for this game, I agree with everything you say, 100%. And I'm going with the Houston Texans as well. The one thing that Detroit has going in their favor is that Houston's pass defense is allowing the highest quarterback rating for opposing quarterbacks at 108.3. And so maybe Detroit doesn't get shut out in this game. But I still think they're going to lose. All right, moving on, man. Washington at Dallas.
It was Mariucci, by the way.
That got fired after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because he was 4-7 his final year.
Okay. That sucks. I like Mooch. Michigan guy, too.
Right, but if you think about Detroit Lions coaches, name one coach that had a head coaching job after coaching the Lions.
Oh, man. I mean, how far back am I allowed to go?
Schwartz, Marinelli, Mariucci.
Yeah, can I go back to like the 60s? And even then, there's probably nothing.
Font, Rogers. I mean, I'm back to like 1984.
Yeah, I will say this, okay, and maybe I'm the only one here, but my opinion of Schwartz is that in time, and I think sooner than later, he is deserving of another head coaching job. I think that with Detroit, he was a little bit young, a little bit immature, and that was just it was reflected on the team, and that was an issue. I think that since then, he's got more experience, he's grown up a little bit more, and he's still great with the defense, man. Even though I was just talking about the gaps in their secondary, he's been a steady defensive coordinator for a long time. I think he should get one more crack at it, and maybe he gets it, maybe he won't. It seems like nowadays everybody wants like the young gun that's coming out of nowhere, but there's nothing wrong with looking at one of these guys like Schwartz and saying, yeah, let's give him one more shot. It won't be us. I'm just saying that, if there was a past Lions coach that could do it, it might be him.
Yeah, I'm way too far back to like.
Let's just say it doesn't happen. It's not possible. There is no coach that's ever been another coach.
No, like I'm back to mid 60s, and I still haven't found one.
Yeah, and so we're basically Super Bowl era. We don't have to go back any further than that.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's another tangent. I digress. Let's move on to
Washington at Dallas. If you're thinking, I'll just tell you, I'm going Washington. My model has us being close. In fact, this is the closest game in my model this week. But like I talked about earlier, I like the progression with Alex Smith over the last few weeks, and I think that that's the difference maker in this game. On top of that, I think it's worth noting Washington is tied for third in the league with sacks, and Dallas's offensive line is like a ghost of its old self. They've just got way too many injuries. I think those two factors, that could be the difference in this game.
I agree with your Washington pick. My pause on it is, and it's going back a little bit. In 2012, they had that practice squad player like a couple days before the game get in a car accident and die. And that kind of galvanized that team, at least for that week.
I gotcha.
And I'm wondering on this game if the sudden passing of the strength and conditioning coach, because of all the coaches on the roster, that's the coach, from what I hear, the strength and conditioning coach is the coach that the players are closest with.
Oh.
They have the most contact with them. And I think Washington is the better team, and I'm actually gonna flip my pick to Dallas based on that, based on everything that's happened this week. When I sent them over to you, I said I had to read up a little bit more on it, and I think I'm going with Dallas for this game.
All right. Just making a note. You're going to remind me, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's cool. No, I could see that absolutely happening. I think that's valid. Teams like to rally around these kinds of situations.
Yeah, tragedy tends to galvanize the team.
Yeah, at least short term. Yeah. All right, so for Sunday, why don't we just start off with Baltimore at Pittsburgh since they got rescheduled? I've got Pittsburgh here. We talked about it. I think Baltimore's in a little bit of a slide. Plus, hey, we both got Pittsburgh at the top of our board. The one thing is that, this is one of those like hotly contested divisional games. And so, it could go either way. There's unpredictability in that. I just look at Pittsburgh and their offense has been steady. The defense is obviously dominant. They're leading the league in sacks with 38, and they're leading the league in picks with 15. I mean, it's just, they're so dominant. Are they going to get a bunch of sacks and picks against Baltimore? Probably not, because Lamar's not that kind of a guy. He doesn't just sit back in the pocket. He's hard to get your hands on him like that. But I just think that their defense is that good. They'll slow them down. It'll at least be a good game like it was before. But I think since that first game, where it came down to that final drive, I think Pittsburgh has stayed the course and Baltimore has wavered. And so I think that puts it just a little bit further into Pittsburgh's favor.
So one of the things if you look at the previous matchup earlier in the year, what's his face? The new running back, Gus
Dobbins? Oh, Gus Edwards, or you're talking about J.K. Dobbins?
Gus Edwards. I'm sorry. Dobbins and Ingram are COVID.
Yeah.
So they're out. So if you look at the previous game, Gus Edwards, I just forgot his last name as I was talking about it.
Gus
Edwards
Bus.
had 87 yards against Pittsburgh. It's just a solid performance.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pose this question to you. When was the last time that a Harbaugh-coached Baltimore team lost 3 games in a row? I can't recall it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that last year with Flacco, when his back was all fucked up, and eventually they put in Lamar.
Right, like I can't recall it, which what gave me pause on this game. But Pittsburgh I picked them the last 2 weeks to lose, and I can't pick them a third week in a row to lose. So I'm sticking with Pittsburgh. But there's just some things that gave me pause on this game.
Yeah, it's sticking in the back of your mind. I got you. All right, next up, we got Miami at the New York Jets. Do I have to ask, James? Do I have to ask?
I'm not sure Miami can win this game.
It's because you got Tua, a rookie quarterback. There's risk.
You got Tua. How's he going to react to the benching? Did his hand injury? I'm not 100% sold on Miami for this game, but I can't pick the Jets to win.
No, I can't pick the Jets. I'm going Miami. Could they lose? Absolutely. Any given Sunday kind of thing, but if they lost, I'd be blown away, dude, that the Jets got to win. But you never know. This could be it. This is where the Jets are like, we're not going to go 0-16. This is our stand. So maybe. All right, so we're both on Miami. Next up, we got Arizona at New England.
So I thought this would be different this year, seeing as though Cam Newton is a kind of a scrambling quarterback.
Yep.
Kind of a running quarterback. He's elusive. Bill Belichick does not do well coaching against a running quarterback. He just does not do well against a running quarterback. And they're good as home underdogs. But I can't pick the Patriots to win this game. Let's go with Arizona. Going with Arizona. Pending Kyler's injury status.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, hey, between now and then, we're allowed to flip. We do it every week. Usually, we got a couple that move. For me in this game, it was interesting because my model picked New England to win, but I can't go against what Kyler Murray's doing. I mean, this guy's just working magic every week. And even that game against Seattle, man, he takes it all the way down to the end. I mean, it's just crazy. And so I'm going with Arizona. New England's been more disappointing this year than they've not. And I get it, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, the Houston game, if New England would have won against Houston, I might have stuck to my model because I always want to give Belichick the benefit of the doubt. But with them losing, it just kind of reaffirmed that, yep, this just is not going to be their year. And Kyler Murray, despite what I said about them losing to the Lions and the Panthers and whatever, this guy just he's so goddamn competitive, man. I'm going with Arizona. I got to stick with them, dude. Next up, we got Carolina at Minnesota.
So, a couple things that gave me pause in this game. Bridgewater is 33-12 against the spread in his career. Minnesota is favorite. He's never he had to cover. He hasn't failed. His last two games he hasn't covered this. They haven't covered the spread, apparently.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense. Oh, because Bridgewater didn't play last week. Okay, that's why. I was like, why does my note not make sense?
Hey, you figured it out.
Bridgewater didn't play last week. And Minnesota is 1-3 against the spread at home.
Okay.
This year. I'm sorry, as a home favorite. But I just can't pick Carolina to win the game. I can't see Minnesota having a clunker 2 weeks in a row, how they've been playing. So I'm going with Minnesota.
I gotcha. Yeah, so this is one of our only differences this week. I'm going with Carolina. I don't like the matchup at all. We talked about it. Minnesota started out of the gate in horrible fashion, had like a little bit of a spur after the bye week, and then they regressed this past week. Carolina, on the other hand, they look good when you watch them play. They're just not getting the wins. And so my model's calling for Carolina. I'm going to be digging deeper as the week goes on, just in case I see something that I missed. But I'm sticking with Carolina for now. Next up, we got Cleveland at Jacksonville.
So one thing I found interesting when I was researching and looking at the stats for this game, since 1995, Cleveland has not been a road favorite by 7 or more points. That's how pathetic this team's been.
And what's the spread against Jacksonville?
7.
Ooh.
Which seems low for this game.
And the Jags are starting Mike Glennon.
Yeah, I think I called him Brett Glennon earlier, but yeah.
Here's the thing, man. I forget where he went to college. It's been a number of years now, but I vaguely remember when Mike Glennon came out. I was like actually excited to see what he could do. He was one of those guys, taller quarterback. He looked like he was good in the pocket, and it just never turned into anything in the NFL. I mean, the guy was just awful. And, it's strange that he's still in the league. It's like it makes me wonder, could he have like maybe developed and learned something all these years flying under the radar? My guess is probably not, because he's a third string quarterback. And so, I can't take the Jags here, man. I got to go with Cleveland, but I'll let you confirm your pick here. But for me, there's just too many reasons to say no way the Jags can't do this. I'm going the Browns, man.
Baker Mayfield as a road favorite it's happened 6 times in his professional career. He's only won 2 of those games.
Dude, you're doing this again where you're trying to talk yourself in to overriding your model. I mean, I'll let you do it if you want. I'm just, I'm just trying to make you pause for a minute here, man.
No, I know, and
it's the Jaguars, dude, with the third string quarterback.
No, I know. I'm sticking with Cleveland. I'm just saying that those things that give me pause on picking Cleveland.
No, I hear you, and it's valid. You want to look at those things because you don't want to leave any stone unturned. Sometimes it's like you miss something, and you're like, fuck, how did I miss that? That was the difference maker, and I didn't look hard enough. I just don't see it in this game, man. I think you could dig and dig and dig, and other games you could find plenty of stuff. I think in this one, if you go digging, you're gonna dig so deep that I just wouldn't do it. All right, so next up we got Tennessee at Indianapolis.
This game, I'm going to let you Well, I'm going to say this: DeForest Buckner is out.
I heard he's going to be out, and that's something that I didn't actually get that in my model when I made my pick, and so it could swing it a little bit. I have Indy. I was impressed with the win against Green Bay. I mean, I was impressed, but I wasn't because of how sloppy it got at the end. I was expecting that to be a defensive deal where Indy was going to slow them down and win, but it was going to be close. I mean, it was just all about offense. But I'm even without Buckner, I'm looking at the matchup against Tennessee, and I feel like they got Darius Leonard. That's a good matchup against Derrick Henry. I just think it's going to be a close game, and right now I'm giving Indy the edge. That's all it is for me.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Since how many times they played 5 times since Frank Reich and Mike Vrabel have been the coach of their respective teams?
Yeah.
What do you think the record is of those 5 games? How many do you think Indy has won?
Oh shit! Wasn't this the thing that burned me last time? That like one of them almost always wins. I mean, I would say it's got to be Vrabel that's getting the upsets.
No. Indianapolis is 4-1 outright against Tennessee since Frank Reich and Mike Vrabel have been the coaches there.
Yeah. So last time I think I picked Tennessee and I got burned. And that's when I read about, because I think when I read it, it was like Indy's won 20 out of 24 games or something like that. But obviously that goes before these guys.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Since these guys have been coached, it's 4-1, and that's what burned me last time when I picked Tennessee to win the game. It was so lopsided towards Tennessee, and then you asked me, well, how recent is that, or some question. I was like, I don't know. So I went back and got got the stats on it. Also, but it's like it's so much. Like if you look for trends in this game for these teams because they're so close, it's like, well, including playoffs under Vrabel, Tennessee is 6-2 outright as an underdog of at least 4 points under Vrabel. If you add in the playoffs, it's 7-3.
Okay.
But it's like Tennessee is. It's just like Indianapolis is 6-1 against the spread in this past 7 times as a favorite, and I have it so close.
You're gonna rattle your brain, man. Looking at all these, you gotta think of the teams today. What's been going on recently. Sometimes when you look at these stats, like that one where it was like 20 out of 24, it's like, yeah, that sounds cool, and maybe that would have like stuck in my mind a little bit, but it doesn't mean shit for this week. Like this week's like, okay, who's healthy, who's been playing well, who has momentum, what do they know about each other? Have they played already this year? It's a whole different set of things that I look at, man.
Right. No. And I know that, and I'm talking through this because I'm trying to determine if I'm going to change because of the Buckner diagnosis.
I gotcha. Well, I think if it helps,
I'm gonna
helps,
stay with-
Clowney's out, so you got that on the Tennessee side.
Exactly. But I had that in my model. And
Gotcha.
I was trying to figure out if Buckner swung the model to Tennessee because it was close. I think this was like one of my closest games.
All right, so I'm gonna just do it while we're talking. So if I do that, fuck. If I take out Buckner, it's within a point, man. It's so
Exactly.
fucking close. Oh man.
Exactly.
But it still has Indy in my model, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
stick with Indy for now, man.
I think I'm gonna stick with Indy for now. I was trying to talk through the trends because I have it slightly closer. I have it like at point two.
Yeah, it was like it was like .7 in mine, man. That's
Yeah.
close. That's close. Like this week, the Dallas game with Washington was like .3, and that's like one of the closest games I've had. Last week we had a fair amount of them that were like that, but normally it's like a point plus, and you can kind of say, okay, did I miss anybody on the injury report? And, does that change anything? Because if you're still like a point and a half, it's like, that's really damn close. It's when it's like a 4-point difference. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty comfortable with this team, But there's
Yeah.
not that many of those either. So it just depends.
Exactly. And I was trying to I was just talking through the trends to see if I was gonna override my model on that one. I know it seems like I'm trying to talk myself into one way or another, but it's just the trends in these games kind of
Yeah, they do matter. They do matter.
at times can predict what's going to happen. But I'm going to stay with Indy in this game, and as I had previously picked.
All right. Well, next up, we got the Giants at the Bengals. Blah, blah, blah.
All right. As you know, I'm really high on the Giants.
Yeah. So, yeah.
If the Giants don't beat the shit out of the Bengals and just pound them into submission, I will be shocked.
That's how I feel. And I was saying that in my power rankings, that if they don't do that, I'm going to be like, nope, I got the Giants where they belong, down in the bottom tier.
Sticking with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going with the Giants. And it feels weird picking the Giants. But Joe Burrow almost had his leg ripped off. The Giants got to win this game. That's all it is, man. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Bills.
The Bills in this game, I think Josh Allen and the Bills are slightly more cohesive of a team than the Chargers, which gave the Bills the edge.
Yeah, I like the Bills in this one. I think they have a couple guys coming back from injury. They just had their bye. They've got guys getting healthy. I think all that just kind of lines up for the Bills should come out of the gate here strong, get a win here, and then they can fall apart next week. Next up, we got the Raiders at the Falcons.
The Falcons are a pathetic team this year. They're just pathetic. The Raiders, I'm a little concerned of a letdown after that close, hard-fought game against Kansas City, but I can't pick the Falcons.
Okay. Yeah, so
therefore I'm going with the Raiders.
Yeah, no, I understand, 100%. I get you, and I'm going with the Raiders also. This one did throw me for a loop, man, because my model is picking the Falcons in this game, and there's just no way I can do it. I don't know what is going on in my model. And every now and then there are weeks like this where I see a matchup and I'm like, no, that can't be right. Like a few weeks ago, my model had the Patriots getting the fucking Ravens, and it was like, no, it can't be like that. It was so close. It was like, this one I just can't. I can't do the override. I can't stick with it. I have to do the override, so I'm going with the Raiders.
Well, maybe your model in this game, it's Julio's a game time decision. On Wednesday, he's a game time decision. That's a little concerning.
I still wouldn't have thought that that would have been a big enough factor for the Falcons to be in it, man.
Yeah, true. I, I was just giving you a possible explanation.
No, no, I know. And hey, I'll watch the injury report and see what changes. And by Sunday, who knows? Maybe I'll be like, "Fuck yeah, let's go Falcons." But I like the Raiders, and so I'm sticking with them. Next up, we got San Francisco at the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, James, 20, what did I say, 29 guys on IR?
No,
You really want to pick the 49ers, man?
right. No, what my issue with this game is the last time they played, you would have thought right. We both picked the Rams to win that game, and San Francisco came out and I believe won the game, if I'm remembering correctly. Like I believe they won it pretty handily,
Okay.
and that's okay. It wasn't as handily. It was 24-16, so it wasn't as bad as I thought, but still short week letdown. Like it just gives you something to think about. But I'm gonna stick with what my model says in the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think with that many people, 986 people on IR, whatever the number was, you can't take the 49ers, man. Maybe Shanahan works some of his magic and they keep the game close. But the Rams, man, they're rolling, dude. They look really good. And so I'm going with them. Next up, we got New Orleans at Denver.
I can't pick Denver in this game. I can't sit here and bash Drew Lock and you got to give the Saints credit with in the last 2 years without Drew Brees as quarterback, the Saints are 6-0.
Yeah. They know how to adjust. I think, and we talked about it earlier this year, one of the reasons that they had these bad games is because it almost seemed like Sean Payton was getting a little too cute with how he was using Taysom Hill. It's like, hey, man, you don't have to do like all these gadget plays. Like you can be a little more traditional. When your team is just that much more powerful, just go straight at them, man. Don't be crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Saints, man. I've been talking them up big time tonight, and I've been burning myself talking shit about Denver, but I'm still going with New Orleans, man. There's no way I'm going against them. All right, next up we got Kansas City at Tampa Bay.
This game was another one of my super close games. Yeah, I took the Brady's not clutch anymore, but it's still Brady after Monday Night Football has like some ridiculous record in his career.
Yeah.
But that doesn't fucking matter. Tampa Bay sucks. Yeah, maybe Kansas City's defense will give up a little bit more than what the Rams defense gives, but Tampa Bay fucking blows this year, and Brady can't throw the pass more than 10 yards, so I'm going with the Chiefs.
Man, you're getting so heated.
Well, I'm just upset because they were my Super Bowl pick this year.
Yeah, well, I get it. That can burn you. Well, I'm going Kansas City as well. I think that this game, it does present an opportunity for Tampa Bay to get back on track because everybody's been screaming this week about they can't win the big game. And this is a chance for them to just shut everybody up for a couple weeks and say, we beat the fucking Chiefs. Get off our back. I don't think they're going to do it, though. And so I'm going with Kansas City. They're just too streaky. The Bucks are too streaky, man. Next up, we got Chicago at Green Bay.
So, as you know, I think Chicago is pathetic
Dog shit.
offensively. Apparently, they are, for the last 6 years, they have been pathetic after their bye.
Wow, no kidding.
Do you realize they've lost their last 6 games after a bye?
Huh. That's not good.
And under LaFleur, Green Bay's favored in this game. Green Bay's 5-0 against the spread after a loss under LaFleur.
So I'm going Green Bay all the way.
I'm going Green Bay all the way. Aaron Rodgers is 18-5 against Chicago.
Yeah.
In his career. I mean, there's nothing in this game that says pick Chicago.
No, and you know, I'm not a betting guy. We talk about it every week. We're doing these picks. I do like to look at the lines. It's just like one piece of information. I did kind of think today, because I think the line was like 8.5. I was like, maybe because it's a divisional game, you could take Chicago and just keep your fingers crossed that their defense keeps Aaron Rodgers in check. I still think they lose, but maybe they could cover that spread. But I go Green Bay all the way. And I'm not telling anybody to take that bet. That's not what we do here. Just, I'm just saying, just for the fuck of it, that's what we do. We talk about these things. So, all right, Monday, we got Seattle at Philadelphia. Unless you're looking at the spread and you want to talk about that.
No, well, I don't want to give any real gambling advice. I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, we'll put like a little thing at the beginning of the show that's like Gridiron Grinder, hut hike, and by the way, don't bet on our picks. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. There's a little interesting tidbit I have in my notes that I chose not to, and I would probably say that. Anyways, we'll talk. All right,
so yeah. So Monday we got Seattle at Philadelphia. Who do you like there, man? Do I have to ask?
Well, there's a weird stat I came up with when I was looking at this game. As a home underdog in primetime games, Philadelphia is 7-2 under Peterson.
Okay.
But then again, if you look at Russell Wilson in primetime games, he's 28-8-1 in his career.
Yeah, he's legit. Like, too legit to quit. Hey. However you do it. Too legit to quit. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. There's no way I can pick Philadelphia to win this game.
Yeah, no, I'm going Seattle. The thing that makes me nervous about this game is that I think back to when Arizona was getting, in that first game, they were getting pressure on Russell Wilson in the second half of that game, and it like totally fucking derailed him. I talked earlier about how Philly is like near the top of the league with sacks. If they could get pressure on Russell Wilson, that could be a difference maker in this game. I just don't trust Carson Wentz, and the Philly defensive secondary is so weak that I gotta believe Russell Wilson will find a way to make it happen anyhow. So I'm going Seattle all the way. I don't see this pick changing. I just wanted to say that's my one concern.
Which makes total sense.
And now we're like way a ways away since we're doing this on a Wednesday and not a Friday. But let's look forward to the following week because this is just what we always do for the Thursday night games. We got Dallas at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Enough said. Baltimore.
Yeah. Baltimore.
Yeah, I think I thought about this game, James, and with the way that Baltimore's been sliding and that they're playing Pittsburgh this week, if Baltimore lost, I could see them coming out like fucking crazy and putting up 50-plus points on Dallas as like, we just got to crush somebody. Like that's, I could see it being like the tops just got to blow. We got to get a fucking win.
Well, here's the thing. I think Baltimore's going to have a second bye week this week. or a forfeited game, one of the two.
Okay.
And because I don't see, with what I'm seeing, I don't see the Pittsburgh Baltimore game going off as scheduled this weekend.
Gotcha.
And if it is, it'll be a shame because Baltimore will probably have half its starters.
You know, in either way, against Dallas, you're talking two teams that are on like exact opposite sides of the spectrum. You got a top tier team and you got a bottom tier team.
Yeah,
If Dallas pulled off a win, it'd be a huge shock, man.
Exactly. There's no way Dallas will even be in that game.
All right, so let's move on here. Question of the week time. We wrapped up our picks, and now this is the part of the show where I just pose a random question every week. Some of them are interesting questions. They make you think. Some of them are kind of like, hey, ABC, pick one. Some of them are just whatever. I don't know. This week, my question, James, we've talked about Carson Wentz. Should the Eagles bench him? And before you answer, let me just give you my little rundown here. You know, this is I think for anybody watching, it can be a very easy yes or no answer if you want to put it in our comments, or you can elaborate on it. I always like to discuss my reasoning for these decisions on what I would do. And, you know, in answering this question, I think that you have to look at the circumstances for the team. Okay? You know, should you bench him to send a message? Hey, you got to get better, kind of like what you were talking about earlier with Tua, you know, or do you say, man, we're still kind of in the playoff hunt just out of sheer luck because our division sucks that bad. If we bench him and then we lose another game, maybe we can't afford that, so we got to stick with him and just hope he figures it out. You know, you got Jalen Hurts, man. If he comes in and he looks like a rookie, you can't afford to lose that game. But if he comes in and looks good, you might have that quarterback controversy. You know, it's a really interesting question, man. And you talked about it. Maybe Philly wants to get rid of him and Peterson and just start over. I mean, it's tough. I think this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And when I think about it, I think about who you are that's answering it. If you're answering it as a fan, you probably want to see a change. If you're answering it as Doug Peterson, you got to be behind Wentz all the way. And so, I don't know. What do you think, James?
So, I think they should. I'm going to say this. First of all,
yeah, I don't want you giving a yes or no. I want you giving me the reason behind it.
They're not going to win their next two games. And I can't think of it. And one of the talk channels I was listening to actually talked about this, and they agreed with me. And basically, there was an instance where, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember. If I would have known this was going to be the question you had, I would have been.
Well, hey, you can talk to me. I'll give you these questions ahead of time if you want.
And there was an instance in a couple of years back where the starting quarterback was struggling. He was benched for 1 or 2 weeks, came back in, lit it up. And I can't remember the details on it, but I think you bench him, you put Hurts in there. First of all, you see what you have with Hurts. You possibly could trade Hurts. Or, shit, you realize that he's better than Wentz, and he takes you to the playoffs, and you have a magical run like Foles did, and you finish the season at with 5 wins and win the damn Super Bowl.
So you're saying, don't be afraid of the unknown. Take the chance, because if it doesn't work out, you're probably on the way out anyhow. What
are you doing by making the playoffs this year anyways? You're going from a top 10 pick to 18th to 20th. just by making the playoffs. You could have 5 wins, make
No,
the playoffs, and you lose 10 picks.
I hear you, but I think that this is, like I was saying, I think it depends on who you are answering the question. If you're a fan, it's totally different than if you're Doug Peterson. If you're the head coach, you're thinking, shit, I got to slide into the playoffs and maybe pull off an upset win in the playoffs or my job's on the line. And if there's that much pressure, you're probably thinking, I don't know if the rookie's ready, and any game could keep us in it or keep us out of it. I just got to hope that Wentz just naturally gets back into his rhythm. And if he doesn't, I'm kind of fucked anyhow,
But here's the thing. If you put Hurts in there and he lights it up, you could save your fucking job because
True.
You made that move.
It's
And
like
you win a
years
freak
ago. Yeah, it's like years ago with Seattle, man, giving Russell Wilson the start. It was like, you know what? We see enough in this guy. He wasn't a first round pick. There was no reason to do that. They were like, nope, we see enough in him. We're going to take that chance. And it just paid dividends. Like last year with Vrabel. Nope, Mariota's not the guy. I'm going Tannehill. Yeah, it's a bold statement to do that. And, yeah, I mean, I see the argument both ways. I can definitely see it both ways. And for me, part of it too is like, maybe you're hanging on to hope because Wentz can be really fucking good. And it's like, what's missing? What's happening? It just, it's tough, man. It's tough. So I don't know. That's the question of the week. And so for anybody who's still watching, please share your thoughts. We want to get some comments. And, just in general, whether it's this or some other comment, we want to know how we're doing. So tell us what you think. But James, that's it for the question of the week. That's really all I had for this week. It's Thanksgiving tomorrow, so I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's being safe and, we have a good, happy holiday, all that kind of fun stuff. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I let my rants go, which would have been my closing thought. So,
Okay. Well, hey, no, it's good, man. We ran it 2 hours and 15 minutes ish tonight. So another lengthy segment, but we had fun, and that's all that matters. So I'll cut it off here, and I'll give you a call in just a little bit, man.
all right, sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.